And now...
What is this?
I know you're gonna dig this.
This is the Flatland Sports Podcast.
Where do you come from? Lubbock, Texas?
Lubbock, Texas.
A place called Lubbock.
I wonder if they think I'm so gorgeous back in Lubbock.
What do you care about Lubbock? You're big time now.
I'm just a little homesick, that's all.
Is that what you want, Larry, to spend the night in Lubbock, Texas at a day's inn with a $15 voucher from Cinnabon?
Lubbock? No, it's near Lubbock.
What's it like there?
It's flat, real flat. You stand on a coffee can, you can see Colorado.
Happy Thanksgiving from across the Great Plains of West Texas. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast, free and available worldwide on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're here right now, please help me out. Like the video, double check that you are subscribed. It doesn't cost you a thing. It helps the channel grow, will help the channel continue to always be free and available. Lots to get into today. We will recap the Baha March Championship, preview the West Virginia Mountaineers. We'll also have the good, the bad, and the ugly. Take a look around the Big 12 and more. But first, Red Raiders in action. We'll start with soccer. Unfortunately, the Texas Tech soccer season has come to an end as the Red Raiders fall to the defending national champion North Carolina Tar Heels. Macy Blackburn tied the game 1-1 in the 60th minute to take UNC to PKs, but unfortunately the Tar Heels from there won 4-3. Red Raiders finished the season 14-2-5. Just a great season for the Texas Tech soccer team. Lady Raider basketball is undefeated as we sit today. After wins against Mississippi State and New Mexico, Texas Tech held Mississippi State to just 31 points in the final three quarters in a 69-62 comeback win over the Bulldogs. Then on Sunday, the Lady Raiders traveled to New Mexico for their first road game of the season. 4 Lady Raiders put up double figures in the 82-57 win over the New Mexico Lobos. Now, as I record this, Texas Tech is taking on Old Dominion in the Hoops Fest Women's Basketball Challenge. They'll also take on North Texas on Thursday in the Hoops Fest Women's Basketball Challenge. That game is at 2 p.m. You can watch it on Flow Sports. And then, of course, we'll go on to men's basketball. The Baha Mar Championship. Number 15, Texas Tech went 1-1 in the Baha Mar Championship. Started out with an 84-83 win over Wake Forest on Thursday, and then on Friday fell to number 1 Purdue, 56-86. As Cousin Eddie put it, I haven't seen a beating like that since somebody stuck a banana in my pants and turned a monkey loose. The first 30-point loss for Red Raider basketball since March 3rd of 2008. That was when Texas Tech fell 109-51 to the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, I'm fine with football resembling 2008 this season. I prefer basketball did not. That was not a great year for Texas Tech basketball, for those of us who want to take a look back and down memory lane. We'll start with Wake Forest, though. Texas Tech started the game soft, fought hard in the second half to get the win. JT Toppin had 21 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Christian Anderson had 16 points, 8 assists. Tyree Bryant had a pretty good game, 13 points, 3 of them three-pointers. Red Raiders were up by 11 late in the first half, but then saw the lead evaporate, courtesy of Wake Forest Juke Harris. Battled hard in the second half to win. It was a team that you should have beat comfortably, yes. However, Wake Forest might be a better team than they appear. We'll have to watch them this season. The Demon Deacons took number 6 Michigan to overtime and fell by 1 point ultimately. But on paper, this might be a better Wake Forest team than we're used to seeing. Now let's talk about Purdue. Texas Tech started strong, but then allowed a 23-3 run to end the first half. And it was pretty much over at that point. Texas Tech put together a couple good runs in the second half to start to close the gap a little bit, but Purdue just kept the Red Raiders at arm's length for the remainder of the game. Just punched them in the mouth, and then Tech could never get back up. Texas Tech in this game out-rebounded 43-25, shot just 33% from the field. JT Toppin had 15 points, 8 rebounds. Christian Anderson held to just 13 points. Offensively, you played an okay game. Now they in the second half, and really when the game was kind of over, they really they held you offensively. You missed and maybe even attempted too many threes, in my opinion. And credit Purdue for keeping you out of the paint. Defensively, though, it was just an abysmal performance. You couldn't stop anything that Purdue was throwing at you. And the worst defensive performance that I have seen since, we'll go back before the Chris Beard era, before the Tubby Smith era even. We're going back to the Chris Walker era for this level of defense. And Chris Walker never got blown out 30 points. So, I mean, it was just a bad night for the Red Raiders. Do we hit the panic button yet? No, not at all. This was a terrible showing, but we go through this every November. We don't typically play teams of this caliber in November, but we go through this every November. College basketball, especially in the portal era, basically a college basketball season now is just one extended game of pickup basketball. Everybody hits the transfer portal in the offseason. Teams are assembled from scratch every year. It takes time for players to gel. We know this. We go through this emotional roller coaster every November here in Lubbock. So circle this game. It's either going to be a great learning experience for this team and they'll come back and it will be to their benefit in March, or it's going to be a sign that we're in for a rough season when Big 12 play starts. I tend to lean towards the prior. I'm not ready to hit the panic button just yet, and I don't think you should either. But we'll be happy to have you back if Texas Tech starts winning games again. Texas Tech will be back home tonight against New Orleans. That game is 12 p.m. noon on ESPN+. And I'll be back to preview the West Virginia Mountaineers. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. The battle for John Denver's soul is upon us. Texas Tech closes out the regular season against the West Virginia Mountaineers. Red Raiders come in at number 5 in the college football playoff, 10-1, looking to finish the season 11-1 for the third time in school history. The last time, of course, 2008. Before that was 1973. That was when Joe Barnes led the Red Raiders to a second-place finish in the Southwest Conference, and then a win over the number 20 Tennessee Volunteers at the Gator Bowl. This game will be an 11 a.m. kickoff on ESPN. Texas Tech, a 20.5-point favorite. What do we need to know about the West Virginia Mountaineers? Mountaineers come in 4-7. Rich Rodriguez, first season in his second stint as the coach of his alma mater. Coached the Mountaineers previously from 2001 to 2007. During that run, 60-26. Mountaineers won the Big East in 2005 and 2007 under Rich Rodriguez, was on the cusp of a BCS national championship appearance in 2007 for a loss to Pittsburgh, eliminated the Mountaineers in what was one of the most insane seasons in college football history just as a whole. Left West Virginia at the end of that season to be the head coach at Michigan. And on a side note, Rich Rodriguez was actually the first choice for Texas Tech to replace Spike Dykes in 2000. Had initially accepted the job and then backed out. And there's a little bit of a backstory to that we won't get into. Texas Tech would go on to hire Oklahoma offensive coordinator Mike Leach instead that year. Fast forward to this year, it's been a rough first season for West Virginia. However, I expect West Virginia to be a force in the coming years. Players to watch, we'll start with QB Scotty Fox, another all-time great football name. Freshman out of Mentor, Ohio. He is a dual-threat quarterback, really a pocket passer, doesn't scramble a lot, but can do some things with his feet, and that was a big factor in the win versus Houston a few weeks ago, and can make just some incredible throws. His biggest downside is that he is a true freshman. The arm strength isn't quite there yet. The body strength isn't quite there yet. He's also been known to make some dumb freshman decisions as well. Dior Hubbard, the running back, freshman from Gahanna, Ohio. 96 carries, 335 yards for the season, and 4 touchdowns. Also watch out for Cam Vaughn, the wide receiver, sophomore. Notice the trend here. They're all young. All of the best players on this West Virginia team are freshmen and sophomores. He's from Villa Rica, Georgia. 33 catches, 541 yards, 4 touchdowns. On the defensive side of the ball, Fred Perry, the lone senior in the stats, really, leads West Virginia in tackles, 51. And the West Virginia defense, definitely the softest part of this team, and probably the one thing, if you could circle anything as to why West Virginia will not be bowl eligible this season, it's on their defensive side of the ball. Keys to the game: punch first. Texas Tech is the better team. West Virginia, I think, has a little bit more fight in them than I would like to see from a team that's 4-7 going into the week. Just break them early, make them not want to be there anymore, and don't give them any hope in this game. This is what Houston did, is they just let West Virginia hang around a little bit. Then West Virginia started to feed off of it, and then they punched ahead. Another factor in this game, too, the weather is supposed to be terrible. I don't know if it's going to be snow, ice. I just know it's going to be really, really cold. So punch first, make them not want to be there. As Troy Aikman said in an interview talking about going to Lambeau Field in December and November, he would go out to the huddle and just tell everyone, hey, guys, let's just run 3 plays and get back to the heated benches. That's what we want to see from the West Virginia team this Saturday. Next key, execute on offense, make catches, pick up blocks. This is the last chance for the offense to really build momentum before the Big 12 championship game and the college football playoff. And you should be much healthier now after a bye week. Baron Morton should be a lot more mobile and just feeling a lot better in general. And to piggyback off of that key, to my final key, score touchdowns in the red zone. Texas Tech finally found a way to finish drives against UCF, and UCF, to their credit, actually has a pretty decent defense. Added more of a running element despite not really having a mobile QB. Now, Baron Morton is mobile. You just can't risk running him in design runs. So you found other ways. You put Jacob Rodriguez under center. You got Reggie Virgil to run in and pick up a jet sweep. You got really creative and found ways to run the ball in the end zone when running your quarterback is just not an option. And it worked very effectively. But that's it. Score in the red zone. Take the momentum to the Big 12 championship game. Texas Tech is on the tail end of a truly historic season. One more win and you make the Big 12 championship game for the first time in school history. Also, according to most experts, you may have already, but you will clinch a college football playoff spot with a win versus West Virginia on Saturday. Although watching the selection show, the way that the committee is looking at BYU right now, there's a little bit of pressure there in regards to if you lose a Big 12 championship game, how much is the committee going to punish you for that? But one game at a time, and we're talking West Virginia right now. Now, I know 2 things to be true. 1, Country Roads is about the western portion of the state of Virginia and not West Virginia. 2, John Denver went to Texas Tech, and I know I said 2 things. 3, Texas Tech will win this game 41-10, and John Denver's soul will remain home in West Texas. We'll have the good, the bad, and the ugly when we return. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Taking a look at what teams are rising, what teams are falling, and what teams just want it to end. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start with the good. BYU gets a huge win over the Cincinnati Bearcats, secured their 10th win of the season. 1 win away from mathematically clinching the Big 12 championship appearance. Now, there are some tiebreaker scenarios that involve Arizona State specifically. Utah is in the mix, and Houston is still in the mix as well. Technically, Texas Tech and BYU both with a 92% chance to reach the championship game and an 82% chance to reach the championship game, respectively. Bad, the college football playoff just absolutely disrespecting BYU by continuing to rank the Cougars just outside of the playoff field. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. And not only did they rank the Cougars outside of the playoff field, they also released an article almost within minutes, like they knew how they were going to rank BYU, because remember, ESPN runs the whole thing. It's not like some third-party committee and then ESPN is just reporting. They own the whole thing. They operate the entire playoff, the committee, everything. And so minutes after the rankings come out, and BYU, despite being 10 wins, despite having, I think it was the number 6 strength of record, despite having more top 25 wins, despite having everything than Notre Dame, Alabama, and Oklahoma, they are ranked number 12 overall, just outside of the playoff field, as the ACC champion will still find a way in, as well as a group of 5 champion gets an automatic playoff berth, as they should. But it absolutely disgusting. And then minutes after the rankings are released, ESPN puts an article that says BYU should be the most mad about the playoff rankings. You rank them yourselves. What are you talking about? Yeah, just discuss. The only reason BYU, and you can tell because look at the names of the teams that are ahead of them: Notre Dame, Alabama, Oklahoma. The only reason BYU is sitting outside the playoff rankings right now is because they have a Big 12 patch on their jersey and they've got the BYU logo on their helmet. That's it. There's no other reason, and it's shameful. It's disgusting, and it's just typical of how this college football playoff has gone ever since the move away from the BCS back in the early 2010s. Also bad, Houston losing to TCU. They were really, really close to a 10-win season, and they might still get it with the bowl game, but 17-14 the final score. Houston missing the game-tying field goal in the final minute. Just a tough loss for the Houston Cougars. And you let TCU win another game. The one time I really, really kind of rooted for Houston. Ugly. Kansas State loses to number 12 Utah. Now, the loss itself, not ugly. The season in general for Kansas State has been pretty ugly. And then in this game in particular, head coach Chris Kleiman had to be consoled in the post-game press conference after calls were being made to make a change at the head coaching position. And of course, every coach goes through this, but sometimes the noise is just too loud. And in this case here, Chris Kleiman broke down in tears during the press conference, had to be consoled. He proceeded to talk about how he had given everything he had to Kansas State over the last 7 years. Been to a Big 12 championship, I think he said 5 times out of the last 7 years. Just given his all, and one bad season, one season where things don't fall your way and people are making calls to hire, who I believe Colin Klein, the former Kansas State quarterback, is the name that everyone is throwing around here. It's just a bad situation at Kansas State right now. And again, it comes with the territory. You win games, everyone loves you. You lose games, everyone hates you. And that's not... That truly goes week to week. I heard people calling for Joey McGuire's job after the Arizona State game. Now, these people are idiots. And that's the problem. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of emotional drive behind what people say on the internet or what people say to people in person. And Chris Kleiman, I think, has every right to be upset. And if Kansas State really is thinking about making a coaching change right now, it would be an absolute disaster. Now, the only change you should be making is Matt Wells at your offensive coordinator position, and everybody in Lubbock could have told you how much of a disaster that was going to be. You Kansas State, you are responsible for getting Matt Wells fired. It was the game against Kansas State where both coaches were coaching for their job. Chris Kleiman makes a comeback win and beats Texas Tech, and Matt Wells gets fired that Sunday. And you saw that guy and thought, yeah, I want him. Picked to win the Big 12, Kansas State was. Kind of a Yoda moment there for me. Kansas State was picked to win the Big 12 this year. They may not make a bowl game. Just and not for any weird injury reason. They just haven't played well. One more ugly. Baylor blown out by Arizona 41-17. Currently 5-6. That's not the ugly part. That was pretty ugly, but the biggest thing was right before that game, Baylor announced an extension to Dave Aranda before the game. Now, I'll applaud Baylor. That is a class move right there. Keep Dave Aranda. Sign him up for a lifetime contract. Baylor administration is absolutely clueless, by the way, as to why fans aren't coming to the games anymore. But they did announce that they changed the sticker color on their chrome helmet. The helmets that everybody has been calling for to come back, really just the uniform in general that everyone wants, is to drop the ugly mustard yellow. But people have been calling to bring the chrome gold helmets back for years. Baylor finally does it. They trot them out for one game early in the season, I think the season opener. Then you never saw them again. And then, I guess to take some heat off of themselves, they come back and announce that we've made the best helmets in college football even better by changing the outline of the BU logo from yellow to white. And that's it. It has nothing to do with Dave Aranda. It has nothing to do with the record. It has nothing to do with the atmosphere, the fact that Baylor just has no clue how to get people hyped for a game. It was the sticker color on the helmets is why fans are not coming to games anymore. We'll take a look around the Big 12 when we return. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. It's time now to take a look around the Big 12. We'll start with Utah and Kansas. That game is 11 a.m. on ESPN. Utah, a 11.5 point favorite going into that game. By the way, ranked number 13 in the country. Utah really, really picked up the pieces after the loss to Texas Tech, and they've been rolling since then with a couple hiccups. But Kansas, by the way, I've been saying all year that they are incredibly overrated. They absolutely turned out to be, and the season is effectively over. I really would like to see Utah just deal the crushing final blow to their season by knocking them out of bowl eligibility here. Kansas at home, so as you know, they won't have the benefit of being able to plant a knife to get some penalties against the home team. Utah is going to win this game 24-18. They will not cover the spread, but they will win the game. By the way, that game on Friday at 11 a.m. On Friday, 8 p.m., Arizona ranked number 25 and Arizona State ranked number 20, a sneaky good top 25 matchup for the Big 12 on rivalry week. That game, as I said, 8 p.m. on Fox. Arizona, a 1.5 point favorite. This may be the game of the week, really, for the Big 12. Arizona State, I think we all assumed was down and out after Sam Leavitt exited the season. They've continued to throw punches and have continued to play football at a pretty high level in the Big 12. Arizona, too, a quietly good team. They've not really been in any part of any Big 12 championship discussion, haven't really been talked about as one of the better teams in the Big 12, and yet they sit here 8-3 along with Arizona State, trying to clinch a 9th win for the season at Mountain America Stadium. Arizona is the favorite for this game, but I think Arizona will pull off the upset here. Excuse me, Arizona is the favorite. I think Arizona State will pull off the upset. It's going to be a close game, though. We'll go 28-25, Arizona State. Moving on to Saturday at 11 a.m., Houston versus Baylor, a classic Southwest Conference showdown. That will be on TNT HBO Max. The Baylor Bears are actually favored to beat Houston. I don't know what Vegas is seeing here. 2.5 point favorite for Baylor. They're really saying it's a toss-up with the 2.5 point spread, and Baylor's getting the benefit as the home team. And I can kind of see that. I just think Houston is a much, much better team than the Baylor Bears, and I think Baylor is is dog water right now. They've kind of given up on the season. I think Dave Aranda has lost the team. And I just looking at him, he's kind of lost his will to try to coach for the season. So I don't think this one's going to be close at all. I think Houston's going to win this one 32-21. Up next, Colorado at Kansas State. Kansas State, a 16.5-point favorite. Colorado, just a team that never got it together this season, was never going to get it together this season. Some had them listed as a dark horse Big 12 championship contender preseason. And with just all of the distractions with Deion Sanders' health, it was never going to happen. This might be Kansas State's chance to get bowl eligibility. That game, of course, 11 a.m. on Fox Sports 1. Kansas State, as I said, 16.5-point favorite. And I think Kansas State's, I think the team, I think Avery Johnson, I think they're going to come play hard for Chris Kleiman, especially after last week. This team Kansas State's a really good football team. They just haven't put it together this season. And I think the Wildcats are going to win 28-16. Up next, Iowa State at Oklahoma State, a classic Big 8 matchup. That's 11 a.m. on ESPNU, as Colin Cowherd would say. Iowa State, a 14.5-point favorite. Another team that had high expectations this season and just never put it together. Oklahoma State had no expectations this season and still somehow fell short. Iowa State is going to win this one pretty comfortably. Although, don't be surprised if Oklahoma State finds a way to win this one. And by the way, the Oklahoma State Cowboys just hired Eric Morris, former Texas Tech wide receiver, former coach. I believe he was at North Texas, and then he was at Incarnate Word in San Antonio before that. Great hire for Oklahoma State. I was really hoping Oklahoma State was just going to be mediocre for the next 15 years, and that I don't believe that will be the case now with this hire that was made. So a little bit more juice in Stillwater than you've seen this year, but this team is just it's not a good team, and so Iowa State's going to win this one 32-24. Moving on now, UCF at number 11 BYU. That game is on ESPN2 at 12 p.m. 90% of the Big 12 games on Saturday, by the way, happen before lunch. BYU, a 17.5-point favorite against UCF. UCF having entered the season under almost identical circumstances to West Virginia, hiring a former head coach, Scott Frost, who's returning to try to rebuild the program. I don't think UCF is going to be as successful as West Virginia was. And BYU, this could be a little bit of a trap game for them, but they're playing at home, and they've got this thing rolling. They don't really fall to trap games. That's just not what BYU does. BYU is going to win this game 42-17. It's just going to be an absolute blowout at Lavelle Edwards. And the final Big 12 game of the regular season, Cincinnati at TCU. That's a 2:30 p.m. kickoff on Fox. TCU, a 4.5-point favorite. Got a big win over Houston last week, but I don't think, unless Cincinnati is just completely deflated after the loss, after the couple losses that they've just had, I think they pull it back together and get a win at Amon G. Carter. That's going to be a 28-24 win for Cincinnati. Take a look at just some of the basketball games coming up tonight. Syracuse will be at number 15, Iowa State. Notre Dame takes on number 3, Houston on TNT. That's in the Players Era Festival, which we will talk a little bit more about coming up. Kansas plays Tennessee. And then as we move into the weekend on Thanksgiving, TCU's got a game against number 10, Florida. BYU's playing Miami. Nothing on Friday as far as the Big 12 is concerned. And then on Sunday, the Texas Tech Red Raiders will take on the Wyoming Cowboys at home. We'll discuss that game in its entirety when we are back on Wednesday for the Flatland Sports Podcast. When we return, we'll be back for one more. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. Back for one more and one final thing before we get out of here. I want to talk a little bit about the Players Era tournament that was announced. The Big 12 closing in on a multi-year deal with the Players Era tournament. For those of you who don't know, the Players Era Festival is what they're calling it. It's a November college basketball tournament. There's about 100 of them. You know, the Maui Invitational, the Baha Championship, etc. The biggest difference, though, with this one is it's absolutely huge. 18 teams. It will be 32 teams next season. By comparison, the Maui Invitational features 8 teams. Most of them feature about 4 teams. These tournaments are just something for basketball teams to do while either football is kind of dominating the home campus, or during Thanksgiving and Christmas break when there is really no home campus. Biggest other difference, too, is it's not a traditional bracket. It's set up more like the FIFA World Cup. There's group play initially, and then there's a finals round. I'm not really 100% sure on how the exact layout is. But the biggest difference, of course, is teams are playing for chances to win NIL, prize money, basically. The winner receives $1 million, while the runner-up receives $500,000 in NIL, just straight to the players. In addition, the event itself is a chance for players to network and build up their own independent NIL stock, even if they don't win the tournament. Tournament has gained traction in its second season due to the all-star line of teams, drawn, of course, by NIL possibilities. You know, for example, this year we've got Tennessee, Houston, Florida, all a part of it, all teams that were in the Elite Eight last year. Ultimately, it's turning into what the NBA Cup is and will eventually be the premier midseason college football basketball tournament. It's going to take over, and in a lot of ways already has taken over old standbys such as the Maui Invitational. So what does the Big 12 got to do with it? Well, the Big 12 just signed or is about to sign an agreement where the Big 12 will own equity stake in the tournament. So in a time where conferences are looking to sell rights to private equity, the Big 12 is actively buying private equity in other profitable ventures. The Big 12 will be granted an equity stake in the Players Era men's tournament. Over the next 6 years, Players Era pledges to commit at least $50 million in rights fees to Big 12 basketball programs, starting in 2026 and continuing at least through 2030. The top 8 teams of the in the Big 12 standings at the end of each season will receive automatic bids into the Players Era championship. So if you finish in the top half of the Big 12, you're automatically in this, as far as coaches and players are concerned, this chance to win a very lucrative NIL boost. And under this deal, participating Big 12 teams are guaranteed at least $1 million in NIL just for being in the tournament. Absolutely huge move by the Big 12, and it's the kind of move that Brett Yormark, for all my complaints with him, specializes in. You know, for a long time, I've been saying that college basketball is an untapped market for conference revenue. A lot of people will tell you that basketball has no value. It's all about football, and football does drive the ship, yes, but basketball, when you consider that the March Madness tournament is is the most popular postseason in all of sports, next to maybe the FIFA World Cup, maybe the Super Bowl, but if you're talking about a postseason as a whole, March Madness by far is more popular than the NFL playoff. The Super Bowl might be a bigger event, but the playoff as a whole, it doesn't come close to what March Madness is. So if you have this much popularity, to say that basketball has no value is absolutely asinine. And it's a lie being pushed out there by media because they don't want to have to pay for college basketball. Brett Yormark understands this, and he's actively making moves to generate revenue, not just to increase its basketball profile, because having teams regularly in this tournament now, as we're seeing this year, is just going to increase how you are perceived as a basketball conference, but it's also generating revenue in a way that other conferences, including the Big Ten and the SEC, cannot. Big 12 getting $50 million just for the deal, and then teams individually getting an extra $1 million just for participating in this tournament. That's not something that anyone else has access to right now. And just this is just the beginning. When you combine that with what TNT is doing with Texas Tech football, or excuse me, with Big 12 football, combine that with how much work they're putting into Turner and into building up another broadcast partner outside of ESPN, the Big 12, and specifically on the basketball side, is going to explode when you have a media partner who's not actively trying to cause your destruction, the way ESPN has been doing over the last 10 years. But that's all I have. Please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a thing. It will help me tremendously. I will be back live on X after the West Virginia game this season to close out the regular season. For Flatland Sports, I am Christopher Johnson. Thank you so much for taking the time, and wreck 'em.